when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll sing Vita Bella.
Hello there, welcome to Alberto's La Bella Cuccina Hour. Today we're very exciting because we have an incredible master chef, Mr. Bert Cuccina. How are you, Mr. Cuccina? It's nice to you visiting us with us.
Good to be here, Alberto.
You're going to tell us a lot of stories about how you started in the restaurant business.
In the restaurant business, well, you know.
And I want to know how you make your very first sauce. I remember
my sauce. Yeah. Well, I tell you, I started. I didn't really plan to be in the restaurant business any more than I planned to be a chef. My family were more or less in teaching, like my brother became a famous water polo coach. But actually, my brother was the first one to get me a job at 13 at a little place down in Carmel Valley called Homan's Guest Ranch, which good old Homan's Guest Ranch. And he was the lifeguard there. And he told me, he says, you know, he says they're looking for a dishwasher. They're having some issues with a dishwasher. This is 1952. And he says, just think, he says, 30 cents an hour you can
For a teenager, 30
yeah,
cents an
30
hour.
cents an hour.
Whoa.
And he says, you know, you could ride horses and you can come to the pool and see the... My God, I was so excited about all that. Of course, my family was against that totally because, you know, we're a commercial fishing family, Sicilians in Monterey with a lot of...
Well, you weren't born in Sicily. You were born in the United States.
No, I was born here. I was born in beautiful
your
here. Thank
parents
God.
from...
Well,
Isla de la Femina.
yeah, Isla de la Femina, the island of women. Forget about it.
Yes.
But it really means peninsula.
Peninsula?
It's the peninsula. It was called Eufema. But anyway, my brother, you know, I think he was trying to do the Homan people a favor by trying to get somebody, because they are having trouble trying to get somebody to work there. So what happened is that I said yes, my family said no. I said yes, my family said no. And stubborn as I am, they let me go. But little did I know that I would have to wash dishes by hand 3 meals a day.
No machine in those days.
No machine.
Just your hands.
So here's my brother. He's out there in the pool with all the girls. I'm back there washing dishes. But anyway, there was a German chef there, as I recall, and he was, you know, really professional,
right.
You know, individual, of course, classical trained and all that. And, of course, you know, Homan's Guest Ranch at that time had a lot of great celebrities that would actually stay there.
Wow.
I remember like Marlene Dietrich,
really?
Those who can remember that, and other celebrities. And then also some other people maybe brought their secretaries there, but we can't talk about that. But it was a wonderful time for me to experience all
right.
that. And yet I was certainly fascinated with cooking because my family, you know, we had a basement like a lot of the families in Monterey did have, where they cooked the fish. And it ends up being the place where you have dinners and you have gatherings. And my family was a big family, and my mother was an excellent cook. So, you know, cooking to me was not a big deal, you know.
Right,
I mean,
you inherit that.
I inherited that
soul in your heart.
I helped my mother, you know, cooking, and I kind of swayed to it. And one day they were the chef was making the employee meal, which was spaghetti, as they call it, not pasta like we call it, you know. And I didn't eat it.
You did not?
I didn't eat it. And the chef says, how come you don't eat my spaghetti? I says, well, chef, I says, you know, I'm Sicilian, you know, my mother. Oh, yeah? He says, next time you make it. I says, next time I will. I was a little cocky guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So the next time that did come up, and I did make it, and he checked me out, and he says, I bet there's one thing you didn't put in that sauce that you made. Because he came in and checked the sauce and everything. He says, and I said, sugar? He says, who told you that? I says, well, my mother, you know. So my mother was really my inspiration for that. So he says, you want to learn how to cook? I figure, well, anything to get away from washing dishes. So he says, okay. So I started to take my apron off, you know, and gonna wear a hat, gonna wear the chef coat and all that. It'd be like him,
Not so
right?
fast.
Not so fast. Chef says, what are you doing? I says, you're gonna help your cook. I figure I get away from the darn washing dishes, right? He says, in between your shift, I'll teach you.
Well, oh my God!
And I put more hours in. But he gave me a raise of 5 cents an hour,
Ooh.
and I didn't get
Darn.
it. And I didn't get it, and I was very upset about that because he promised me that. And then he said, "What was wrong with you that day?" And sure enough, I told him. I says, "Well, chef," I says, I was getting ready. He says, "Let me see your check." So he took me over to Mr. Holman's daughter, who was there for the summer.
Is this Mr. Holman's the building?
The Holman's department store. That was his.
That was the building. We're
Mr.
going to go
Holman.
back to that
Yeah,
later.
yeah. And so he used to come in and eat the employee meal. So anyway, I ended up, the chef threatened to leave if they didn't give me that raise. So I didn't know how to thank him.
5 cents is when not.
Yeah, 5 cents. Well, those days, 30 cents, 5 cents. Maybe that was a lot of money in a sense in 1952. So what happened from that point on, I ended up helping him. So when I made that spaghetti and Mr. Holman came in, and he asked the chef what was the employee meal that day. So the chef told him, and he says, "Well, let me taste that." And he tasted that, and he slammed the plate down. He says, "Chef, don't you serve this." I said, "Oh, I'm going to get fired for trying to cook." He says, "You serve this to the customers."
Wow, that's
so
great.
So it was an impressive thing. And it kind of stimulated me at that time. And I was fascinated with cooking to that degree, but also because the involvement. Because my mother, we had 20 people at our house. It was no big deal. And all the relatives came over. And it was a daily thing. Even my grandparents, they didn't live too far away, and they were there every day. But that was the old traditional way, which was great. I go to my wife's, my future wife at the time,
yes.
But even her house, and I know her family, of course, because my father, commercial fished together in 1933. So they kind of always wanted us to get together, but that eventually happened. But it's just fascinating that became a thing. But I didn't really think about being a chef per se. I just got excited about the business, the hospitality business. And I wanted to learn every phase of it because in my mind, my goal was to be in business.
You were
from the time I was young, I was in my mind. I wanted to be in business, and that reality, as you know, finally came one day. But I wanted to learn everything, so I worked all the different phases of everything from busboy, bartender, maitre d', manager.
So you know all the facets of
Well, I actually took a 3-year apprenticeship under a chef, fortunately in Monterey at the time, on the wharf actually, where Gilbert's is now used to be a place called Neptune's Table.
And that was your very first experience as a chef.
Well, not really as a chef, going through a process of training, but there was a great chef there, and he taught me a lot. And I could tell you one story that shocked me one day when I went down into the big boxes they had downstairs, walk-in boxes, and he had this meat hanging, and it was all green. And I ran upstairs, and I told the chef, I said, "Chef, we got this meat rotting away." He said, No, that's not right. It's aging. Aging. And then he gave me a whole lesson on aging beef, which was interesting. So I was very fortunate that I got to work with him, and then I got to work with other chefs down the line in the future. And it worked even when I was in the Navy. I was stationed in Alameda, California.
When we go back to your Army deal, how about the you had another restaurant in the valley called the Butcher's Shop?
Well, the Butcher Shop in Carmel.
And that was your very first one, or the second one?
No, that was the second one.
What was the first one?
The Sardine Factory.
Oh, the Sardine Factory.
45 years. 45 years. We're celebrating our anniversary this year, October 2nd, 1968, when my partner and I, Ted Ballestori and I, he worked the front, I worked the kitchen. We only had 50 seats at the time. It was an old dilapidated building on the wrong side of the tracks on Cannery Row. And that was our first venture. He was working for another concern, and of course I was too, but we decided that we wanted to go in business. And I kind of, as well as he did, we believed that Cannery Row would be the future. And
you were right.
Yeah, we were very right. And even, of course, you got to remember, during that time, there was Neil Devon's down there, and there was a few other places, the Trade Winds, which was now the Fish Hopper.
Right.
And there wasn't really that much down there except dilapidated canneries.
Right.
But we believed in a future in that. And in fact, I remember telling my father as a kid, I says, Dad, someday Cannery Row, he says, "You buy it, the ocean's mine," because he was a fisherman.
Okay.
He was a fisherman.
Good trade.
That made sense.
Good trade.
So anyway, yeah, that happened. We ended up with the sardine factory was first, and then of course the butcher shop in Carmel was a great little restaurant. Mr. Bodine owned that. Art Bodine. He also owned where Sapuro's is today.
Okay.
And that used to be the Jolly Roger.
Okay.
We eventually got that one as well and became the Jolly Rogue because it was another Jolly
What kind of
Roger
food
shop.
was that?
That was seafood based. That was
Seafood, all
really
seafood.
all seafood restaurant.
But your butcher shop was a prime
Steaks.
rib?
It was prime rib. We bought prime beef, as
Prime
I
beef,
do
yeah.
today at my restaurant. We buy prime beef, and we were buying dry aged prime beef, and it was just a great little place. I created an oxtail bisque, which was kind of unique. I didn't really have a kitchen there, to be honest with you. It was a small place. It was
sardine factory,
no,
kitchen.
This is the butcher shop.
Oh, butcher shop.
We're on the butcher shop, and it was not really a kitchen back there, a prep area. So I had to create this. I created this soup using beef tea, which was an item with no sodium on it, and oxtails, and then I made up this mixture. I don't know how the hell it came out,
Great
but people
recipe,
loved
huh?
it. So what the heck, as long as it works, right?
We'll try to duplicate that soon, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, it came out great. So that became our second place, and then we ended up with the Jolly Roger, ended up being the Jolly Rogue. And then eventually, we got involved in another deal on Cannery Row, where the chart house is today.
Oh.
And that was China Row, and we had a Chinese partner. And
So-
I ended up cooking around in that type of Asian cuisine, which was another whole experience in
Indeed,
learning.
indeed, yeah.
And how much Asian influence is today in our cooking is a lot of cultures,
Yes.
a lot of different foods that are that we're using, their seasonings and so forth, and we can intermix them now.
Not only that, the Chinese people use the al dente, very al dente veggies
Yes.
into turns, and there it goes.
Wok cooking
Very
is
thin.
amazing.
Yeah,
Wok
indeed,
cooking
yeah.
is amazing. So that was another experience and an opportunity to learn again. I actually became a member of the American Culinary Federation, which is a national chefs organization, and got certified as a certified executive chef, going through a process. Because many people don't know this, I wore white once before, other than a white chef coat. I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy. So you learn a lot about preventive medicine and so forth, and that's interesting because you need to have that. The sanitation part is very important.
So you need a permit also for that.
Yes,
You
yes.
have to go to school for that.
No,
you
you
trained
can,
for that.
No, you can get through. I had it in the Navy, so it was a lot easier. But you have to go through an educational program for it, which you can that could be outsourced to you, so you don't have to go there. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is because through the years I went to these conventions, and I got an opportunity to go to a lot of seminars and work with a lot of chefs, and was able to bring some of that to my restaurant over the years. So you see, it's keeping evolving as a learning experience, and especially if you enjoy what you do. And I always say, if you have the passion,
Right. Yeah.
passion is the key, and I think that's what we try to instill in young people today. The Rancho Cielo project, as you know, that's very dear to my heart. It's something that I was able to be involved in from the beginning of creating that, and the culinary program there at the Drummond Culinary Academy. And, that is interesting because here we're taking people that have had issues in their life, and we're helping them find a career, and hoping that, in a way, I think we're saving lives there. And it's been fantastic. So the last 3 years, that's been an operation has been great.
So
Really great.
you're happy with that?
Oh,
with
that's
Rancho
probably,
Cielo.
to me, that's probably one of the greatest things I've ever got involved in, other than my career as it is, in the culinary career and the hospitality industry. And it's something that you love. Always do what you love. That's the name of
And
the
that's,
game.
that's the way
That's
to
the
go.
whole key
That's
to
right,
everything.
When you feel that kind of feeling,
yeah.
that's the way to go. We're going to continue talking about this. In the meantime, we're going to go to a message. Be right back. Hello, welcome to Alberto's restaurant. Come on in. At Alberto's, you will have a new experience at great Italian dining. We have fantastic pasta dishes like fettuccine alfredo and eggplant parmesan. And you have to come in and try the chicken marsala and the calamari con limone. I take great pride in everything I prepare, and I know you will love it. And what's dinner without a little wine? At Alberto's, we have a great selection of wines to go with your dinner.
Alberto's Restaurante in Pacific Grove.
Come and see us tonight. Salud.
How can you get a crispy restaurant tortilla bowl, but without frying it in oil, grease, and fat?
Just do what I do. Hi, Mark Gill here with the perfect tortilla pan. The fast, easy way to shape, bake, and create delicious tortilla bowls. Place any tortilla into the non-stick pan, pop it in the oven, and in just 5 minutes, perfect tortilla bowls that are always golden and crispy. Fill them with steak and peppers for a crunchy fajita bowl. Perfect Tortilla Pan's exclusive design works with all tortilla sizes, forming a deep-shaped edible bowl. Plus, it's all dishwasher safe. We'll send you not one, but 2 for just $10. Call right this minute and we'll double your order free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Every caller today will receive our cutting cup to slice, dice, chop, mince, and measure as it cuts. Yep, you get it all for just $10.
To order Perfect Tortilla for $10 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-292-0574 or order online at buyperfecttortilla.com.
Hello there. Welcome back to Alberto's La Bella Cucina Hour. We are talking to Alberto Coutinho, a wonderful chef in the Cannon Row area. Mr. Coutinho, welcome again. Tell us more about the butcher shop, and we want to know about the Holman building. Was the Holman building a restaurant upstairs?
No.
Do you remember that?
No. I only remember the Holman building, being a big department store. And, of course, when I was a kid, Christmas time, you got to go see Santa Claus upstairs.
Also,
yeah, I remember that as a kid growing up. But Mr. Holman, like I said, his guest ranch was his hobby. So he loved that guest ranch out there. And he liked riding horses. He was sort of a wrangler type guy. And you never would think that he had what he had. You think he was just one of the hands that was there. But he was an amazing individual.
Right.
Very, very amazing individual. But... yeah, the Holman's department store was sort of like the place, a department store on the peninsula that you had to go to.
To go in.
Yeah, because years ago you didn't have...
No Macy's.
No Macy's, no Del Monte Shopping Center. You had downtown, you had Woolworths downtown, as I remember. It was interesting downtown Monterey, there was these little creameries, these little places. And as growing up in school, going to local schools, local Catholic school I went to, then I also went to Monterey High School. And kids, used to hang out at all those places. We had a lot of fun growing up, And I had fun working in the business, I really love it today. I mean, I'm at my restaurant a lot.
Well, you can see that you're happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
I
mean,
love what you do.
I love what I do. If you love what you do, that's the really the key, I think, more than the financial reward. And when I'm at my place, I'm happy to meet people. I might be in the kitchen. I might be in the front. You never know where I'm going to be, and they never know when I'm going to show up either.
There you go.
But then again, if they need me, I'm there. I'll jump in. Whatever they need me, I'll jump in.
That's wonderful. Tell us about now when you were at the Army, when you were a medic.
Navy.
Yeah,
the Navy. Well, yeah, that's an interesting story in itself. See, I was going to local college here, Monterey Peninsula College. In fact, that's where I met my future partner, Ted, in economics class, by the way. Economics class. Yeah, we were talking in the back, and the teacher made us sit up front because we were talking so much. He says, see these two guys, they'll never amount to anything. So I guess we showed him a little bit. But, yeah, what happened is that I was still working in the business, whatever it was. I was doing even accounting and whatnot. And then trying to run a restaurant and go to college, it doesn't totally work. It's how many hours you can put in a day. So one has to suffer. Of course, I let the college suffer a little more than the restaurant business suffer. And consequently, in those days, you get the draft. They'll draft you if you don't stay in school. So that's what happened. But at the place I was working, the Naval Reserve officers used to come in, the Admiral, they used to have meetings and so forth. And there was a gentleman by the name of Boltree, Captain Boltree, who happened to be on the city consulate one time in Monterey. I mean, I could tell you stories about that, too. And that was the Naval Reserve. So I had told them when they came in that I was going to go in the Army, and I would probably not be there anymore. They said, what do you mean you're going in the Army? You can't go in the Army. You got to go in the Navy. And they swore me in at the table.
Wow.
So I got sworn into the Naval Reserve. Now I'm thinking the Naval Reserve, well, let's see. A Naval Reserve, I don't have to go active duty. Well, I was wrong. You have to go 2 years active duty and 5 years reserve. So you're going to take the active duty to begin with. You're going to take it at the end. I took it to begin with to get it over with. But, even that was a great experience for me. And I guess when they were short of corpsmen, the medical end, they try to get people with some form of higher education to fill in because it's a volunteer position.
Right.
And they end up throwing me in there. And I was trying to put in for Japan, Italy, Europe.
You want to travel.
I want to
travel.
travel.
See the world.
They sent me to Alameda, California. After I had to go to hospital course school for 12 weeks, and I was real into it. I think I wanted to come out and be a doctor.
Really?
Yeah, I got kind of carried away with it. Except they put me on a children's ward with cancer and so forth, and that was very difficult for me to take. And I thought, no, I think I'm going to go back to the happy business. Well, the happy business. So the last 6 months of my duty that I had left, there was a fella down here in Monterey at the Naval Dispensary, which doesn't exist anymore, but it was for the postgraduate school here.
Okay.
And the flyers had to get their hours in, so they were treating the officers there, the flyers, and we swapped. So I ended up getting stationed in my hometown the last 6 months.
Yeah, wonderful.
So I went back to work in the restaurant because, $70 in the Navy don't make it.
But the restaurant was not yet.
I was working for somebody else at that time,
right.
And I just went back to work and I enjoyed it. And then I figured I'd try to achieve my goals. But I figure at that time when I got out of the Navy, I still had another year left of college that I needed to complete. So I went to school and took business courses in real estate and management and so forth and so on, and got my degree. And then I was going to go to San Francisco State because my brother, who got me started in this business, kept telling me, you got to go to college, you got to get a degree. Well, I was making pretty good money, and I was offered a bigger job with more pay. And I said to myself, I don't want to waste my time going to school.
Right.
I'm just going to go write what I'm doing, and I want to open up my own place someday. And that became my goal. And, in life, you should always set your goals.
Correct.
Yes. And when you meet your goals, then you got to set new goals, and so that's what I did.
That's part of life.
That's part of life. That's exactly
what you
what
had a great experience by actually preparing and cooking for kings. For King of Belgium.
Yeah, the King of Belgium. That was done at the place I worked when I was doing my apprenticeship under the chef, and we had the King of Belgium in. And actually, it was a little disastrous night because the waits.
Went wrong.
No, nothing went wrong with the food.
They dropped the food on the floor.
No, what happened is that we're going to serve them cracked crab. We're going to express the local crab, and had them all decorated on these platters and so forth. And all of a sudden, the waiter sneezes, and the damn crab goes against the window and all over the place. And that was so embarrassing. And we had made an ice carving for the king. It was a rose with a trout, like kissing a trout. His favorite fish. And so forth and so on. And so that was out there, and the sommelier was trying to open up the wine. He cut his finger, and the blood was squirting all over the place.
So that was pretty bad.
Yeah, so there was a little disaster. But as far as food-wise, I learned a few more things about cooking from that chef. It was fascinating. We even made petit fours, little pastries, and I remember we served a rack of lamb as the entree. I'll never forget that because he put little booties on the bones. Remember they used to put the booties on there, the old days.
How do you usually rack of lamb with breadcrumbs?
Yeah, he fixed his Dijonais style.
Okay,
with traditional style. Yeah. But it was interesting because one of the things that I like to do is I like to make soups and sauces. I think.
So in your heart, is saucier.
Yeah, saucier. I love making bis. We serve at the sardine factory for 45 years our abalone bisque, and that's a very much a world famous soup. In fact, when we were at the inaugural for President Reagan, that we were invited one of the 50 restaurants. We did serve that in 1984, and you know who wanted that soup was Frank Sinatra.
He told me he came in once.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin came in the
To
restaurant.
the sardine factory. You mentioned that.
No, not the sardine factory. They came to the restaurant I worked at, and it was during the Crosby golf tournament, 1964. And that's the night, unfortunately, that Sinatra, yes, he punched out the president of Pebble Beach.
Well, Mr. Sinatra was a person that they wanted to eat sometimes at 9 o'clock. And 9 o'clock, they close everything here at 8:30.
But this was 4 o'clock in the morning. He wanted
Well, what do you-
cornflakes.
The guy,
He wanted cornflakes at 4 o'clock in the morning. They didn't know what to do, so they called Mr. Osborne, who was the son-in-law of Samuel F.B. Morse, who owned Pebble Beach at the time. And he knocked on the door, and Sinatra said, "Who are you?" And boom, smashed him. And Sinatra got 86, as we say, when something is
out
out.
of Pebble Beach.
86 forever from Pebble Beach.
Wow.
That made national headlines.
I don't remember that, but he only says, I just took off my plane and never go back there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then he never said why or...
Yeah, well, that's what
because
really
I
happened.
knew that he used to come in at 9 o'clock, 9:30, even 11 o'clock, just fix me something.
Yeah.
I used to do that because I love the guy. But I mean, and then he'll talk for hours.
Yeah.
And two bottles of wine, Valpolicella, Bartolino. I didn't know what he wanted to drink.
Yeah.
So I used to prepare a whole table of vodka and Jack Daniels, Bartolino,
Yeah, Jack
Valpolicella.
Daniels, I remember drinking Jack Daniels.
Everything in a little table for him.
Yeah.
Lemon peels, olives, roasted peppers, whatever,
Yeah.
That's on the side for his drink.
Well, you know what's funny about that night they came in to the restaurant. Sinatra walked up to me. I was working the front door that night as a maitre d' because it was during that tournament and there was a lot of people and we were pretty well covered in the kitchen. And like I said, I worked during the day in the kitchen. At night, that's a different story. So Sinatra walked up to me and he says, "Paisan, come with me."
Oh, really, Jay Paisan?
He called me
No
Paisan. I guess he could see who
yeah,
I
yeah,
was.
yeah.
And I sat down between him and Dean Martin. And I got to tell you something. I was totally sitting there. I was frozen. I had one on the left, one on the right. And Sinatra has the Jack Daniels. And he poured it.
Right.
But Dean Martin, he always got the hit like, well, he's
but
always a
drinking, he doesn't
drunk and
drink.
all that. He didn't drink. He had,
I steal
I
them,
think he had Martinelli's sparkling apple
yeah,
juice.
yeah.
But he wanted to go because he kept telling Frank, he says, "Frank, let's go." He wanted to go because I guess he wanted to get up early to play golf or whatever during the Crosby tournament. And so I says, "Relax, Dino, relax, Dino." So finally, Sinatra turns to me and he says, "Okay, Paisan, where all the broads are in this town."
Yeah.
He says, "Oh my God, unbelievable." But anyway, that was an interesting night. And they actually had an event upstairs of the restaurant. It had the Paisano group. The Paisano I'm a member of that. It's a local group founded by Bing Crosby and Sal Cerrito and Phil Harris. And the Paisanos, that ended up being a big event, which is held every year still. And the Paisano are just a get-together group. It's just an eating, drinking thing, and it's a lot of fun. And being that I've even served that group for many years, and then also the fact that I'm a member of it now, and but they're trying to get some younger people into it, which is good, just to keep it going, But it's an interesting group.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that Dean Martin drank a lot. He actually used to have tea or coffee, but he go, beautiful. But he was a lot more charming than Sinatra. Sinatra was a little more to the point, But when he was with the people that he considered family, then he started joking and telling you stories about whatever happened in his old days,
right,
or early days of his career.
Right.
But he actually was not that loose,
right,
with people that he just met. But he was a great guy.
Oh yeah, I mean the Rat Pack, as they were called. I mean, it was just amazing the impact that they had made with their whole program, so to speak. They were just fascinating, and now they have all these imitators that do it in Las Vegas.
Yes.
You go there, you see this all the time.
Those guys are legends. I mean,
icons. It never happened again.
No.
Never happen again.
We're going to talk more about Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and maybe his sons and his families right after this message. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Alberto's restaurant. Come on in. At Alberto's, you will have a new experience at great Italian dining. We have fantastic pasta dishes like fettuccine alfredo and eggplant parmesan. and you have to come in and try the chicken marsala and the calamari con limone. I take great pride in everything I prepare, and I know you will love it. And what's dinner without a little wine? At Alberto's, we have a great selection of wines to go with your dinner.
Alberto's Restaurante in Pacific Grove.
Come and see us tonight. Salud.
Old-fashioned TV trays are okay, but you're always too far away. Hi, David Jones with the TableMate, the transformable table that slides to you, making everything you do more comfortable. Whether you're eating, reading, or playing a game, TableMate lets you sit back and slide the table right up to your body. And with the built-in adjustable cup holder, no matter what position your TableMate's in, your cup will stay in. TableMate's L-shaped legs slide over any surface. TableMate easily adjusts to 6 different heights and 3 comfortable angles. It's like having 18 tables in one. The raised lip makes sure nothing slides or rolls off. And when you're done, it folds flat for storage, and it stacks for easy access. You could spend over $250 on all these tables, and they still couldn't do what one TableMate can for just $29.95. But wait, call or log on now, and we'll send you a second TableMate free. Just pay separate processing and handling, all for just $29.95.
Standing.
Ready? Hello there. Welcome back to Alberto's La Bella Cucina. Today we're talking to Master Chef Cuccina, who's telling us all kinds of incredible stories about Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and all of his guests that he talked with about in Pebble Beach, right? It was
yeah,
Pebble Beach at the time.
Well, you know, a lot of the, where I worked, and then also at the sardine factory, we certainly have an array of celebrities that have come in through the years. You know, one recent one that kind of impressed me was the singer. He's better known as Di Benedetto.
Oh, no, Tony
Bennett.
Tony Bennett.
He came in for dinner with his lovely wife, and and he enjoyed it very much. And as he was leaving, he came up to me, and I was working the front door that night, and he says, I always want to tell you, he says, one of the finest dinners I had. I enjoyed it very much. And I said, well, you know, Mr. Bennett, I said, I got to tell you something. I said, I remember your records when they were this big. And I remember when they were that big. And I remember now their tapes. And he says, I'm never retiring.
Yeah.
See, I was going to say that. Well, you know, he ended up, that was during the jazz festival. He ended up being a tremendous hit at that jazz festival. So Tony Bennett just got rediscovered by the younger generation, and they love his music. He's an amazing guy, and he's in his 80s, and he's still singing, he's still going. Yeah. So, you know, their retirement, look at you, you're not going to retire.
No.
What are you going to do?
I love the restaurant business.
But you
it's in my blood, it's like you.
Yeah, we're kind of like into the thing, and that's exactly what it is. You know, I mean, if you love what you do, it's the name of the game, and that's what I love to do.
They'll take you to a place and open doors and open more doors and
more
doors, like you.
Yes.
Look, you open so many doors. Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, we're very fortunate, my partner and I. You know, we've got great staff, like we were talking earlier, you know, before we got on TV here. Staff that's trained, that's been with you a long time, you know. We have, like, Big Mike, our bartender, has been with us 40 years. I keep ribbing him. I says, you see, Mike, all those bottles? I tell customers, you see with all those bottles up there in front of the mirror? I said, we put those on purpose so Mike pays attention to you more than he pays attention to himself. You know, we have a good joking thing going on all the time. But, you know, like your business, as you know, it becomes more like a family thing than more so than, I mean, a lot of commercial business. And, you know, when people come in, you want to make them feel good.
Exactly.
You want to greet them. You want to make them feel better than at home. Well, yeah, we want to make them feel better than at home. If we made them feel at home, we made $1 million mistake. We want to make them feel better than at home.
Exactly.
And we hope that our people do that and project that to the customer, because a dining is not only the meal itself, it's the experience. And you have to give people an experience. When I worked at the Fairmont Hotel for a short period of time while I was in the Navy, I got an opportunity in San Francisco. And I saw a lot of things there that really impressed me. And I remember being in the kitchen. I worked in Garde-Manger, you know, they're decorating food and doing all that stuff. And that was a whole new lesson again. I mean, you see how you keep picking up things and you keep educating yourself. Right. Because you didn't go to culinary school, did you?
Yes, I did.
You did, but I didn't. So, you know, I had to learn the hard way and try to pick up things, you know. But it was interesting going through an apprenticeship program for 3 years. I mean, you really get into a lot of different things if you get exposed to it. And the key was to get exposed as much as you can. And that's why on a national level, with the National Chefs Organization I'm involved in, I picked up a lot of things. And I got to know chefs like Paul Prudhomme and, Bobby Flay. I cooked one time at my house with Bobby Flay at my outdoor kitchen. That was an experience. So I even had my mother-in-law on the program at that time. And I had told her, I says, Mom, don't say anything negative. We're going to be on TV because they wanted a Sicilian woman to fix calamari. Squid. We don't say
squid.
We say calamari. And she was going to do a stuffing thing. So I did all her mise en place, which is getting everything ready, as you know. And I told my wife, Bella, I says, I just hope your mother does it. Because her mother, she could be a little outspoken. But, that woman at 90 was still cooking for 20 people. She was amazing, too. She was like my mother, too, same kind of woman. And so we get there to shoot it, and I'm cooking. I'm doing some scampi dish with pasta or something and pizzas. And we have about 8 people outside there, So Bobby Flay goes up to her. Bobby Flay is from New Jersey, so he.
Did you invited him?
They contacted me, and they somehow, through a connection, they contacted me, and they wanted a Sicilian woman, and then they found out who I was. They wanted me to be on TV with her, and I says, fine, I'll do it, whatever. So that's how that all came about. And so they came to my house, and they searched it all out prior to, so it was not just off the cuff. It was very involved, it was very
cameras
involved. The whole thing, big production. And so we get on TV, so Bobby Flay goes up to my mother-in-law, and her name is Nancy, and he says, Nance, called her Nance. Yeah. He says, Nance, now tell me what you're going to do with this calamari. Well, I had got her fresh calamari that afternoon, and she says to him, she says, I'm going to take this calamari, and we're going to clean it and do all this stuff. And then we're going to stuff it and do all that. And then I'm going to have this sauce I'm making. And, she went through this whole procedure with him. And he says, oh, fine. She says, but one problem. He says, what's that? He says, the squid's too small for stuffing. I said, cut. They laughed at it. He said, what's his name said? Bobby Flay said, no, we like that. We like that. We like her to be just that way. That reminds me of Julia Child.
Did you ever experience
Julia Child and I were real good friends. Her birthday, my birthday is actually tomorrow, believe it or not, August 7th.
Happy birthday. I'm tomorrow.
I'm trying to forget it. But her birthday was August 14th. So she had been to the sardine factory. And, of course, when I was involved with the culinary school in San Francisco, she was on an advisory committee with me, and Martin Yan, Martin Yan, who I always tell him Martin Yan can't cook. I always kid him around, but he's great. Martin Yan's fantastic. And there was Mr. Mondavi was on there, and Mr. Swig from the Fairmont. And we were on a conference call, and we're talking about the curriculum for the students, what they should keep into the curriculum, and then certain things they wanted to take out of the curriculum. So she was on the phone because she was in Massachusetts. So she, of course, wasn't there, but she was on the phone. So we're talking about it, and I was sort of chairman of this advisory committee, and we're throwing it around. Everybody's saying something, and I'm not hearing nothing from Julia Child. And finally, Julia says, Bert, we have to make sure that they don't get away from eggs, butter, and cream. That was her big worry.
That was great.
We can't get away from butter, eggs, and cream. I never forgot that. Everybody almost fell off the chair.
She's wonderful.
She was fantastic. And when she did her show, she made a mistake. They kept it in there. And I think that's what a lot of people can relate to. We see a lot of food shows. They look so perfect, and you've done food shows. I've done food shows. And when they do them live like that sometimes, some things are going to go wrong, right? It's going to happen. So right away they try to figure a way how to cut it. They cut it out or something. Right. She didn't want nothing cut and I think that was great because what she did, that related to all the women who wanted to cook, that nobody's going to be a perfect chef. There's no such thing, as a perfect chef or a perfect cook.
Something she didn't like to be called chef.
No, I know.
I'm a cook. I'm not a chef.
Well, when I was chairman of the Academy of Chefs, which is our honor society in the country, I brought in the first celebrity chef into the organization, because prior to that, you have to be credentialized, you have to have this, you have to have that, or you couldn't be accepted. And of course, she wouldn't fit into that role any more than a lot of chefs would be able to fit in that role that are celebrities in some cases. And I brought her in, and they called me up. They said,
You brought her in?
I brought her in as an honorary member.
Wow.
I brought her in as an honorary member, and I felt it was important to bring her in. I think it gives a lot of credibility to the profession because she reflects such a positive image to it. And, the national office called me up and said, how could you do that? That was wrong. She's not a chef. And I said, you know something? I'm going to tell you something. She's more of a chef than some of the chefs we have in the organization, so forget about it. And they accept it. Of course, now the attitude is totally different. They want to bring in more celebrity chefs to the organization to give more credibility to the organization. And we have, like my good friend Keller from the French Laundry, Chef Keller. He's one of the first celebrity chefs that we brought in after Julia Child, and Martin Yan, and a lot of them. So the chefs organization, but of course the whole purpose of the academy, on another point, is that I initiated that I thought was important, was to raise money for scholarship, to help these kids go to culinary schools and be able to give them funds so they can see some reality to their careers. The only thing we have a problem with is that in some cases they pay a lot of money to go through the school, and when they come out, they can't get the jobs that they need to get in order to pay back the loans and stuff that they borrowed, and it makes it so we end up losing a lot of the kids,
Yes.
But as you know and I know, it's a big demand out there for our industry, because our industry continues to grow. The hospitality industry. I mean,
it's expensive to go to culinary school.
Well, it's expensive to go to culinary school. It's not like it used to be in a sense. But apprenticeship, so there's a big emphasis with apprenticeship programs like I went through. That has become a big emphasis now, and we are very much trying to promote that on a national level.
Great, that sounds good. Good. What else I was going to say? What do you think of old school and new school? What is your favorite for you to? Because nowadays, old school is totally forgotten, and we don't have those incredible big Wellingtons and
the classical cooking is what you're talking about. I think there's always a revival.
The Chateaubriand, remember
Chateaubriand? No, Chateaubriand, I can go on and on. But I mean, I think it's always a revival. I think things go into a circular motion and they come back. Now, they may not come back the same way. A lot of the young chefs, they have taken, for example, you just mentioned beef Wellington. And what they call now is deconstruction. So they take the pastry off to the side, they take the filet a little different here, and they just present it a little different. And they call that a Wellington style or whatever they may call it. Well, you know and I know that's not a Wellington, as we know, become classical cooking. But they can get away with that, that's fine. But they do try to bring the classics back. But here's my point. In order for them to really be honest in the profession, they really need to have classical background training. Classical cooking is still the basis fundamental of all cooking. And I think if they don't do the classical cooking, it makes them very difficult to succeed unless they become just natural talents that are able to do that. And there are chefs that are able to do that. I mean, they didn't go to a school, they didn't go through an apprenticeship program, and they're working in some of the top places in the country today because they're creative, naturally creative, and they have that God-given talent.
It was very hard to get to a restaurant like yours without no experience. I mean,
no, you got to have experience.
Classic restaurant. Yeah. And there's a wannabe chef, a wannabe sous chef, and you don't want to, right now you don't have the time to do that.
No.
There's no way that you can go into
years ago it was
Paul Bocu's place and he says, come on, and I'm going to teach you how to make sauce. Nobody does that unless you want to go.
Well, you can't really afford that today, and you can't afford the expense of what it goes through the process because, as I stated, a lot of us worked for nothing in the kitchen to learn.
Right.
And it was a lot different in those days. It was expected. But, in this country, at least you have an opportunity to go from a cook all the way to master chef if you want and be credentialized. In Europe, their program is basically you're either a cook, and to be a master may take 30 years.
Right.
But
we're going to talk a little bit more about the older school right after this message. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Alberto's restaurant. Come on in. At Alberto's, you will have a new experience at great Italian dining. We have fantastic pasta dishes like fettuccine alfredo and eggplant parmesan. And you have to come in and try the chicken marsala and the calamari con limone. I take great pride in everything I prepare, and I know you will love it. And what's dinner without a little wine? At Alberto's, we have a great selection of wines to go with your dinner.
Alberto's Restaurante in Pacific Grove.
Come and see us tonight. Salud!
Salud! What's eye-poppin', worth chompin', and always show-stoppin'? Pop Chef, the new fast and easy way to make delicious edible creations your family will love to eat. Grab your camera to capture this gift-making fun for everyone. Watch, just choose any shape, press into your favorite food, then pop perfect hearts, pop super circles, or pop sweet stars into a mouth-watering masterpiece. Transform simple sandwiches into extraordinary ones for lunch. Turn regular fruit into a healthy bouquet display. Or create the coolest vegetable party tray that will impress any guest. No knife, no cookie cutters, and no mess. The secret is Pop Chef's 3-in-1 air-popping action that instantly shapes, pops, and creates all your favorite foods. Pop singles or more, thick or thin, so the kids will eat healthy again. And check this out. Use Pop Chef to decorate cupcakes for birthdays, cookies for special occasions, or make holiday treats that can't be beat. Store-bought fruit arrangements can cost over $50, but the same made with Pop Chef is just a fraction of the price. You'll receive the Pop Chef with butterfly, flower, sun, heart, circle, and star cutters, plus 25 decorating skewers, all for just $10. We'll even include this idea book free. Use the tips inside to make a Valentine surprise that's sure to get a hug. But we're not done. We'll give you our 30-piece special occasion set with unique designs free. Just pay separate processing and handling. This eye-popping, show-stopping 60-piece set is all yours for just $10. So start popping with Pop Chef. This offer is not available in stores, so call or go online now.
To order Pop Chef, call 1-800-721-5418. That's 1-800-721-5418. So don't delay. Call 1-800-721-5418. Call today.
Hello there. Welcome back to Alberto's La Bella Cucina. We're discussing old food and new food with Master Chef Cuccina. Mr. Cuccina, what do you think about the old school?
Well, I think, we were brought up in the traditional way of cooking, and I think it's a generation gap that's happened where the casualization of America has made a difference. Even though we go to different areas like Europe and still experience those things, and there are some restaurants that still do that in our country, and they become sort of that, and you have an older generation that loves to still experience that. You have a new generation that needs to be exposed to it, and they're not. I'll give you an example. One day in the kitchen, in my kitchen, I told my chef, I said, we should, good old Thermidor sauce, is such a great sauce, the tarragon and so forth. And I says, we should run something like that. And he says, do you really think they'll know what tarragon is? And Thermidor is? I says, well, that's where we got to really let our waitstaff to explain it to the customers. Well, we did try it, and once they got it, they liked it. Those who ordered it, or some of the older people who ordered it, knew exactly what it was. And they said, "Oh, I remember lobster Thermidor and lobster Newburgh," and they'd be talking about it to the waitstaff, and the waitstaff would come back and tell us. But most people don't know what it is because they don't look at that cuisine. They're not being exposed to it that way. So the newer generation of chefs that come out want to be very creative.
Right.
And they want to do things differently. Differently doesn't always mean it's better, but in a different way, it can be great. And it's what they expose to the customer. And then you have a lot of foodies who really understand the difference between the two. And they may regress and all of a sudden like some of the traditional old style. And then again, they may like some. This is a dichotomy that we have even in my own restaurant. It's, we have traditional plates, and we have some stuff we do a little more exotic. I mean, we try to, you can't be everything to everybody, but you seem to have a mixed group of people coming in today that want that. But you know what I find that's interesting? The ones who come dressed up like young people, they're making an evening of the experience. where you have some people come in and the way they're dressed. I remember years ago, ties. What's a tie today?
They give you a coat. If you had that, like a shirt, yes, sir, a coat. You know,
I remember a great restaurant in San Francisco called Doro's.
Yeah, I was there one time.
Don DeAndy.
Italian restaurant.
Don DeAndy was a restaurateur. And if you went in that restaurant and you didn't have a jacket for some reason, as it came to pass that all of a sudden the changes were happening, he would not change. But he had a row of jackets, different sizes for you.
Blazers.
And different blazers. And you end up, he says, as long as you're going to dine in this restaurant, you got to wear a jacket. Well, you know, his place, eventually he had to close it, you know, because his customer was kind of going off. And
but there was another restaurant called Doro's and another restaurant that was like of the same category, the same deal.
Ernie's
and Doors.
Ernie's
Yeah,
right up the block.
Yeah, they're both the same, almost the same.
I was there the night Ernie's closed the restaurant.
Oh, boy.
That was a sad night. That was a sad night. 5-star restaurant.
But how old was that restaurant? 20 years old?
That was, she's 35 years, maybe 40. In fact, I had my honeymoon dinner there when I was leaving for Hawaii. I stayed overnight in San Francisco, and I wanted to take my wife to Ernie's, and they had, you know, they talk about lamb rack, you know, and they had the lobster bisque and all that. But it was done in such a beautiful way, and the waiters dressed up in tuxedos. And yeah, we had that in my own restaurant. But you know, the time has changed, and customers have it. It's the casualization of America. It has made a big difference. And you know, we sit there and say we like this, but it's not what we like. It's what the customer likes that counts. It's what they want to accept.
Sure.
They're the ones who drive us. And it's good if you keep some of the traditional stuff, which, you know, many restaurants are traditionally. You're a traditional restaurant. Your traditional foods, great Italian food that you serve there is fantastic. And I would go for something like that myself, you know, because but then again, that's my heritage too. You know? So it's a little easier for me. But then again, you know, Chinese is great. There's great Chinese food. There's great Mexican food. There's all kinds of different ethnic foods that we can experience. But I still think the whole thing between the old and the new is that we do have those gaps, and it's unfortunate that we're losing some of those great dishes. Sol Bon Femme, remember that? Sol Bon Femme, very popular. Sol Veronique with the grapes. As I sit here, we can go on, Veronique. We can go on and on about all those different dishes, but every now and then I kind of throw one back just to see how it goes.
I love Veronique sauce. The Veronique. And there's nobody here. I tried to do that at the restaurant. Grapes with
they don't grab it. They don't grab it. But then again, is what we said earlier. It's the wait staff. It's what you got to keep pounding.
You have to educate them over and over again, and they forget. And say, sell this one. They'll be interested in you to sell, especially my new specials nowadays. And they kind of, you know, people don't like pork. They do like pork if you tell them the way it's prepared and how it's pounded, like a veal or stuff like that.
Well, pork is so interchangeable with so many chicken dishes, veal dishes. You know, there was a big thing about veal for a number of years. Let's face it. I was serving a lot of veal, and this became an issue. I remember getting picketed for that, you know, because, and I said, well, the U.S. government puts a stop to it, fine. But, you know, veal now is natural veal that you get. There's so many things that have changed in the food industry to really upgrade. You know, it's fantastic. I mean, my God, we're here in the Monterey Peninsula, Salinas Valley, the produce we have, the accessibility we have. I remember dealing with one fish company, one produce company. Today, you can deal with as many as you want and get anything you want. And it's fantastic. It's a chef's dream. And the creativity can be unbelievable. So chefs have so much to work with that they never had before. All they got to do is make sure they learn and they keep studying and keep evolving. But you got to be aware of what the consumer wants. The consumer is the king and the queen. They're the ones who are directing the program. And you got to fit what they want. And if it fits into what they want, you'll be very successful. If not, then you better go rewrite the menu. You got to change the formula. The formula has got to be changed. The formula won't work.
Customer's number one. Whatever they want.
Customer's number one. And
like I said, I mean, like you said, what you put onions in it? Not if you don't want them. Nothing is cooked here.
That's right.
Nothing is cooked.
Right.
You want onions, you want this,
Cook it to order. Cook
Yeah.
it to order.
Everything
Cook it
is
to
like
order.
that in my restaurant.
Right.
You want something like that? But I don't like garlic. No problem.
You just leave it out.
Yeah.
You leave it out. Maybe sometimes what happens with customers who don't want this, don't want that, and they change something that you're serving to them. Then they say, "Well, this is not what I like." And they're the ones that created it.
Yeah, that's exactly
because we get sort of, Paul Newman. Remember Paul Newman,
of course,
the great actor?
very much so.
Paul Newman was a friend. He came to the restaurant every year, and we always prepared something special for him, because he was always watching his diet. Well,
he drank a lot of beer, though.
Yeah, well, yes, he did, but he didn't really drink too much. When I remember, because he was a race car thing, his was a race car thing. But I remember the last time he came in, and it was a Sunday night, and I happened to go back to the restaurant, and I was checking, and somebody told me, "Oh, Mr. Newman's here." "Oh, Mr. Newman, I got to go say hello." And Paul, "Hey, Paul, Bert," he had his brother with him and 4 other people. And right away, I was going to say to the waiter, I said, "I know Mr. Newman's going to order some special things that he wants, dietary, usually plain fish and little plain spinach or something he may order." So I go back to the front of the restaurant, and the waiter comes up to me, and he says, "He just ordered from the menu." And I says, "What? Can't be." So I just couldn't believe it. So I went over, and I said, "Oh, you sure, Mr. Newman, I can fix him?" He says, No, I'm just ordering from the menu. Fine. So they had dinner and everything. And I went over to the table at the end of the dinner, and I said, "Hope everything was fine," that kind of thing. And he says, "Bert, is it okay if I go back to the kitchen and thank your cooks and your staff?" He'd never done that before.
No.
So I was kind of taken back, and I says, "Gee, that's weird. Here he ordered from the menu." Well, I took him back in the kitchen. He shook hands with my dishwashers, the pantry people, the cooks, and thanked them all. And walked out the door, and as we're leaving, going down the steps, and he says to me, he says, "Well, I've always enjoyed coming to your restaurant." He says, "But I never realized how great it was until I finally ordered from the regular menu." And a month later, he died. So he knew he was going. He was saying goodbye to my staff, who took care of him all through those years. It was a very moving time. And I have this picture of him and I together at the racetrack.
Something similar happened to me, too.
Yeah.
Steve McQueen came to my
Steve
restaurant.
McQueen, yeah, there's
Opened the door.
Yeah.
Opened the door, and he asked me, "Hey, Alberto, are you still married?" I said, Yes. "Okay, bye." The next day, he died.
Next day, he died. Amazing. It's just, those kind of things just make you in wonderment, and somebody, he knew he had what he had, Newman. And it was just amazing when he ordered from the menu and told me how everything was great. Finally got to taste the menu.
Those people are, David Jansen, another person.
David Jansen, I remember him too.
He was a daily customer. Daily customer, yeah. Saturday nights, he'd come to the house. You could live across the street from the restaurant in Malibu. And he said, No, I have to go home. It's almost 2 o'clock. "Come on over." No, I said, "No." The next day, his wife called me. He's dead. Yeah.
They always said he was the son of Clark Gable. I don't know how true that is.
It's because he's got, I know why.
Ears. Ears. He had Clark Gable ears.
Yeah, there was a character guy that used to call him Clarky. And the reason because he got big ears. And actually David used to speak like that.
Is that right?
Yeah. No, he also thought he was Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because he thought Bogart was Bogart because he makes so many movies, being like a policeman or.
Well, one of my cousins married that blonde actress. Remember that, Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah.
My cousin, Joe DiMaggio. He was a cousin of mine.
No kidding?
Yeah. His family was from the same town in Sicily that my family was from. I knew him for 40 years. He was a good Joe. Never talked too much.
Wow. Now it's time to say goodbye to Mr. Cuccina. We're going to have a great time. Hopefully you come back to us soon.
Sure, I love it.
And I want to say a special get well to Mikey, my friend. Mikey, get well. And to Nikki and Dottie. Come to see us again and enjoy a great meal at Alberto's. Thank you again. I'll see you Tuesday. Grazie tante. Ciao.
Ciao.